Hello everyone, welcome back to Simple English Talks. I'm so happy you're here with us today. How are you doing, Smith?
Hey there, I'm doing great, thanks. I just had a lovely morning coffee, so I'm full of energy. How about you, Anna?
Oh, I'm good too. I actually had a funny moment this morning. I was making breakfast and my cat decided to jump on the counter right when I was pouring my cereal. Haha, you can imagine the mess.
Oh no! That's a perfect way to introduce our topic today, actually. Because you just used a really useful structure without even thinking about it. You said, I was making breakfast when my cat jumped. That little word, when, is what we're focusing on today, along with its friend, while.
Exactly. Today we're diving into when versus while. These two words can be tricky for English learners at the A2 and B1 level. But by the end of this episode, you'll know exactly when to use each one in everyday conversations.
You'll be able to talk about things happening at the same time, interrupted actions, and even contrasting ideas, all naturally and correctly. We'll give you lots of real-life examples and practice.
So, before we jump in, let me ask you a question, dear listener. Think about your morning. What were you doing when something else happened? Maybe you were getting dressed when your phone rang, or you were drinking coffee while reading the news. Share it with us in the comments below.
Yes, write it down. We love reading your examples. And while you're at it, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Simple English Talks so you never miss an episode that helps you speak English naturally.
All right, let's get started with the basics of when and while.
Yes, let's jump right into our first teaching section.
So, the basic rule is actually quite simple. When is used for a specific point in time, often for a short action, or to talk about an action that interrupts another. While is used for two longer actions that are happening at the same time. With when, think of a moment, a single event. With while, think of a period of time during which something else happens.
Exactly. Let me give you some clear examples. For when, I was sleeping when the alarm went off. The alarm going off is a short, sudden action. It interrupted my sleep. Another example, she called me when she arrived at the station. Arrived is a moment. Now for while, I was sleeping while my brother was playing video games. Two actions happening at the same time, both continuing. And, she listened to music while she was cooking. Both actions over a period of time.
I love those. I can think of so many from my own life. Yesterday, I was reading a book when my neighbor knocked on the door. That knock was the short action that interrupted my reading. But when I talk about what my family does in the evening, I say, I watch TV while my husband reads. Both actions happening together, no interruption, just two ongoing activities.
That's a great way to feel the difference. So Anna, what were you doing when I texted you this morning?
Haha! Oh, I was walking my dog when you texted me. Perfect example. The walking was ongoing, and your text arrived at one moment.
Nice. Now you try, listeners. I'll give you a structure, pause, and say your own sentence out loud. Finish this. I was. When my friend. Really say it. Think about which part is the short, sudden action.
And don't forget, the negative forms are just as easy. I wasn't paying attention when the teacher called my name. For while, you can say, I wasn't listening while you were explaining the rules. The pattern works the same way.
Can you make a sentence with while about two things you did today? For example, I ate breakfast while I checked my emails. Say yours out loud now.
One more thing before we move on. The structure often follows a simple formula. With when, it's often a continuous action in the past, plus when, plus a simple past action. I was studying when the phone rang. With while, it's often two continuous actions. I was studying while my roommate was cooking.
So remember, use when for a point in time or an interrupting action, and while for two continuous actions happening together. Got it? Let's build on that.
Now, sometimes, when and while can seem to overlap, and that's where things get interesting. You can actually say, I was cooking when you called, and also, I was cooking while you were on the phone. Notice the difference? The second one uses while, because both actions were continuing. So a really helpful tip is, if both actions are in the past continuous, use while to connect them naturally. If one is simple past and the other past continuous, when is very natural for the interrupting action.
That's a game changer. Let's see some examples. I was working while she was sleeping. Both long actions. But I was working when she called. Perfect. Now when also works for general repeated time. Like, when it's cold, I wear a jacket. That means every time it's cold, not one specific moment. We don't use while for that kind of repeated habit.
Right. And while can mean during the time that, even when we drop the subject and verb, especially with an ing form. For example, I listened to a podcast while driving. That's a very natural short way of saying, while I was driving. You'll hear that all the time.
Let's do a quick practice together. Listeners, fill in the blank with when or while. Ready? I was listening to music. I was cooking.
That one is while, because both actions are ongoing. Next, I was listening to music. The doorbell rang.
That's when. The doorbell rang is a short action. Good. Here are a couple of tips. First, if one action is a short interruption, use when. Second, if both actions are longer, use while. Third, for repeated habits or general statements, when is your friend.
These little pointers really help. Now I'd love to see your own examples in the comments. Write 2 sentences, one with when as an interruption, and one with while, for 2 things happening at the same time.
Yes, drop them below. So to review, we now know the core time uses of when and while. When highlights a specific point, and while paints a picture of 2 ongoing actions. Let's add a third, really useful meaning now.
There's another powerful way to use while, and it has nothing to do with time. We use while to show contrast. It means something like although or whereas. For example, while I like living in the city, I miss the peace of the countryside. See? No time meaning at all, just a contrast between 2 ideas.
That's so common in everyday conversation. You'll hear people say, while the movie was long, it was very interesting. Or, while I see your point, I think we should try another way. It's a very polite way to disagree or present a different opinion.
Exactly. It softens what you're saying. Compare that to using when for contrast. That usually doesn't work. If I say, when I like living in the city, I miss the countryside, that sounds strange. So for contrasting ideas, while is your word.
Now, when does have a special non-time use too, often meaning considering that or if. For instance, when you think about it, learning a language is amazing. It's like saying, if you think about it. Or, when you're learning English, it's important to practice every day. It sets a condition or a general situation.
Let's put both into a quick natural exchange. Smith, what would you say if I told you I'm nervous about speaking English?
I'd say, while it's normal to feel nervous, the only way to improve is to try. See how while introduces the contrast politely?
Perfect. And I might respond, when I make mistakes, I try to learn from them. That when means every time, a general rule.
Let's practice. Listeners, which word fits here? I'm not a fan of coffee. I'll have a cup. It's a contrast, so while is correct. While I'm not a fan of coffee, I'll have a cup.
Here's another. You travel abroad. You should try the local food. This is a general situation, so when works best. When you travel abroad, you should try the local food.
One more tip, when you're using while for contrast, your tone can be softer, almost like you're gently adding another perspective. It makes you sound very natural and thoughtful.
All right, say these out loud with me. While I enjoy running, I hate getting up early. When I'm tired, I listen to music. Great job.
So now you've got 3 core uses. when for a specific moment or interruption, while for two simultaneous ongoing actions, and while for contrast. Let's look at the mistakes learners often make so you can avoid them.
I have to admit, even I've mixed up when and while before I really paid attention. It's so common. Let's share some typical mistakes, and you might recognize a few.
Mistake number 1, using while for a sudden short action. I hear, I was watching TV while the power went off. But the power going off is a quick event, so it should be when the power went off. The correct sentence is, I was watching TV when the power went off.
Yes, that's a big one. Mistake number 2, using when to connect two long, continuous actions in a way that sounds a bit unnatural. I was reading when he was writing is not exactly wrong, but it's much clearer and more natural to say, I was reading while he was writing. While immediately tells the listener both actions were ongoing.
Mistake number 3 is missing the subject after when or while. I've heard when arrived home I called her. We need the subject, when I arrived home I called her. The same for while. While I was walking, I saw a friend. Not, while walking. Saw a friend, unless you're making a general statement like, while walking, be careful.
And mistake number 4, using when to contrast ideas. When I like tea, I prefer coffee, is confusing. The listener expects a time meaning. So say, while I like tea, I prefer coffee, or, although I like tea, I prefer coffee.
Here's a funny one. Imagine telling someone, I was sleeping while the alarm clock rang. That means you slept through the entire ringing. But if you meant the alarm woke you up, you need, I was sleeping when the alarm clock rang. Haha, big difference.
That's so true. Now I'll give you a quick fix-it challenge. Listeners, correct this. She was walking while it started to rain. What should it be?
It should be, she was walking when it started to rain. Because the rain starting is a moment. Say the correct sentence out loud.
Remember, making these mistakes is a normal part of learning. Every time you catch yourself, you're improving. So don't be afraid to try.
Absolutely. So now you know the common pitfalls. Let's put everything together in a fun, interactive practice.
It's time for our Choose the Correct Sentence activity. I'll read 2 options, and you pick the better one. Ready? Number 1. A. I was taking a shower when the water stopped. B. I was taking a shower while the water stopped. Which is correct?
It's A, because the water stopping is a sudden, short action. While would suggest the water stopped over a period of time, which doesn't make sense.
Good. Number 2. A. What were you doing while the accident happened? B. What were you doing when the accident happened?
D is natural. An accident happens at a moment, so when is the best choice.
Number 3. A. While I understand your concern, I disagree. B. When I understand your concern, I disagree.
That's A, a clear contrast. When would change the meaning to something like, every time I understand.
Number 4. A. I like to listen to music when I work. B. I like to listen to music while I work.
Both are actually correct, and you'll hear both. But while I work emphasizes during the time of working, and when I work can mean every time I work. So tiny nuance, but both are fine.
Number 5. He left while I was talking. B. He left when I was talking.
Again, both are okay, but A really stresses that I was in the middle of talking, creating a stronger picture of an interruption. B is also correct, but slightly less emphatic, about the ongoing action.
Now I want you to create your own sentence using while for contrast. Say it out loud. For example, while I enjoy sunny weather, I actually love rainy days too.
And one with when for an interruption. Share it with us in the comments. Remember, the goal is real conversation, not perfection. Use these words to express yourself clearly, and the accuracy will come.
Wow, we have covered so much today. You should be really proud. We learned how to use when and while naturally, and by now, you can see how these small words make a huge difference in your English.
Let's quickly review the three main uses. 1. When. For a specific moment or an interruption. I was reading when you called. 2. While. For two ongoing actions at the same time. I was reading while you were cooking. 3. While. For contrast. While I like reading, I don't have much time for it.
You now have the power to describe your day, share stories, and disagree politely, all with just 2 words used correctly. That's amazing.
So here's a reflective question for you. What were you doing when you last heard some really good news? Think about it, and maybe write it down.
Yes, let us know in the comments. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful. Share it with a friend who's learning English, and subscribe to Simple English Talks so we can keep helping you every week.
We're so grateful you spent this time with us. Keep practicing, stay curious, and remember that every word you learn brings you closer to natural, confident English.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
See you next time.